I just woke up on everyone's favorite remastered Norse island, which consists of newly refurbished canyons, chilly taigas, and the most expansive oceans. I have been sent here to defeat the colossal ice wyvern Nanatak, who plans to freeze Ragnarok into nothingness, just like the dragon and manticore before her. It's not going to be easy, but maybe with the help of the newly added bison and a good stroke of luck, I'll be able to defeat her. We've got to get started, so without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Once I had named my character Norse Filippo, I spawned in Highlands East because that is my second favorite spawn point aside from Jungle 1. As soon as my character was done admiring the diamond in his arm, I got to look around this beautiful remaster of everybody's favorite map. I wasted no time running further inland to collect all of the basic resources. What? Oh, just free rocker out here? Okay. After learning all of the necessary engrams, I crafted myself my first ever pickaxe. Now that I have a pickaxe, I can gather thatch at increased rates. But most importantly, I can gather flint, which when combined with thatch and wood, makes me a hatchet. After I'd gotten all of the resources, I made myself said hatchet alongside a torch, spear, shirt, pants, and hat. Now that we've got the latest sense of fashion, we can move further inland. Now the plan is to tame something that can get me through the next few days, so I'm looking at stuff like an equus. But until then, I'm gonna see if I can kill this pteranodon for some hide. I could not. Once I had crossed this hill, I may or may not have found somebody I owe a lot of money to. But then I found something even better. Oh my god, it's a unicorn with a baby unicorn. Alright, let me explain why I'm freaking out here. Out of the 50 or so equus that are on these highlands right now, only one of them has the chance to be a unicorn. And on top of that, there is a 12.5% chance that each wild dino has a baby. So for the unicorn to have a baby is very rare. Or maybe it's not, I don't know, but either way, I want to tame them. It's starting to get late, and that Carcaro is moving a lot closer to me, so if we want to tame the unicorns, we have to be quick about it. While I was going down to check out this lake, I was ambushed by 3 pegomastics. Pegos are genuinely the most deplorable creatures in all of Ark. They just take stuff out of your inventory and then demand a ransom for it.
I'll give it back if we have sex.
After almost dying to the 3 rats, I was able to kill them and get my stuff back. Then I started to run back over to the unicorn because I had finally reached the level required to tame it. Once I had reached the unicorn, I gave it one of my carrots and then proceeded to give it another one once I mounted it. A short while later, after it wanted another one, I fed it to it and it was all mine. But of course I couldn't leave without taming the baby as well, so now I have 2 of Ark's rarest creatures. This is the moment where I remember just how cold it actually gets in the highlands at night, so if I don't get shelter, I'm gonna be dead by daylight. I started to immediately break down trees so I can get thatch and wood to make myself a temporary shelter for the night. I should also probably mention that I got the unicorn a full imprint. With that out of the way, I set up my tiny thatch hut and made sure that I'm not going to be freezing tonight. With me spending the night in this hut, I'm going to regain all of my health and I probably should be fine to leave on day 2. With day 1 behind us, all we have to do now is heal up and then go and see if we can kill something for food. Because I very foolishly did not harvest the pegos that I killed for some reason. Also, this is probably a good time for me to mention that you guys should join my Discord, link in the description, channel, and pinned comment. Since I am kind of paranoid that the Carcaro above me is going to come down and kill me and my unicorns, I decided to move my base down closer to the water. After everything was moved, I needed to go get more firewood so that I can stay warm inside. After some waiting, the sun was already up and it was looking like a herd of Triceratops have moved closer to my location, so I'm gonna need to kill them for meat. But I decided that I want to heal up a little bit more before I do that. Once I was full HP, I took out my unicorn to go and kick the trikes until they were completely subdued. Once they were fully dead, I proceeded to harvest them for hide and meat. At this point, I was level 15, so that means that I can craft some hide armor for myself, which gives me a lot of extra insulation. Once my new armor was equipped, I'd say I look pretty good. Now that I'm geared up, I want to head over to the brand new island that they added next to me. Also, literally every single swimming animation is completely bugged for me for a while. The only reason that I'm here on this island is because I'm here for the bison, because if I could tame one early game, they would be insane. Unfortunately, I got a little bit too close to some of the bison and they started harassing me and my unicorn. Oh, Jesus. They are knockout. Oh my god, they can do that? Oh, it's over. Oh, oh my god. Oh my god! Leave! Why are we going so fucking fast? Okay. My bad. My first encounter there did not go very well, but we will be back because that's a max level bison with a baby. But until then, we're probably still gonna have to hunker down in my base because it is getting kinda cold again. I then started to farm up stone for a mortar and pestle because I want to craft some narcotics. And since I need those narcotics very badly, I started spoiling up a bunch of meat in my inventory and headed out to collect some narco berries. Now that we gotten the berries, that's going to be it for day 2, and we have a lot planned for the coming days. I started day 3 off with a little bit of a base expansion where I'm going to house my refining forge and smithy. Speaking of which, I had already crafted the forge. Now we just need a bunch of metal to fill it up with. Then when I got back to base, I started making so much narcotics that Heisenberg would be very proud of me. Now that I've smelted a decent amount of metal, I made myself a smithy in which I crafted myself a pickaxe shortly after. Since we're keeping up with the theme of crafting things, I made myself a crossbow right after the pickaxe. On day 3, I started mass crafting trank arrows so that I can tame the bison and get the baby as a nice side bonus. Since the sun is up, we can actually go out and be productive. However, as of this moment, our biggest priority is just finding the level 150. Which is easier said than done without a spyglass, so I headed up this mountain in hopes of finding some crystal so that I can get one. Once I collected said crystal, I made the spyglass and headed back down to the plains. Once I did find the bison I wanted to tame, I started pumping it full of trank arrows. Surely nothing can go wrong, right? Did you just take a shit? He just
come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth. I'm feeling romantical.
Thankfully, I have 2 unicorns, so I took my spare one over to get my body. Fortunately for me, I did knock out the bison that I was trying to trank out before, but unfortunately, the other one is still pissed at me. We're gonna lose the unicorn. No! My unicorn! I can't fight this thing how I usually fight things with, like, I kick them. So we're just gonna have to lead it away. Once it was gone, I was able to get my stuff and carry it to the bison that I knocked out. Since I don't want it to wake up, I started gathering a bunch of narco berries so that it can stay asleep. For some reason, the original bison that was angry at me is still here, so I'm gonna try and kill it with some arrows. Right when it was about to go down, however, this happened. No! As you can imagine, this is not going to be a fun time. After I got my stuff back on day 4, I'm going to prioritize taming the bison over saving my unicorn. I left my stupid mythological horse on passive fleece, so it's just going to keep running away from the bison until they don't want to attack it anymore. My unicorn, wow. That was absolutely tragic. I'm leaving that in. I'm going to be a man about that. Well, at least he's still with us today. Now would probably be a good time to feed the bison with everything I got. Wait, what's that sound behind me? No! No! Thankfully, I managed to slip away, but my unicorn is taking one for the team. As long as he doesn't lead them back over to me, we probably should be fine. I hope. Don't you fucking dare. Oh my god, you idiot. You fool. Not yet. No! Both of my unicorns are now dead because they have the survival instincts of a deer on a highway. The best thing that I can do right now is just wait until the bison are ready to be tamed, so I'm gonna stay away. So for the majority of the day, I'm gonna sit away on a hill waiting for this thing to be tamed.
3 hours later.
The bison was 1 feet away from being tamed, and now all I have to do is wait. A short while later, it was finally tamed, and now I have a strong-ish mount to carry me through the next few days. But I still can't use the saddle on it until level 50. Don't worry, I got the baby claimed too. When I looked at its stats, they were kind of insane, with it having pretty much 9,000 health and 333 melee. Now is probably a good time to mention that I heavily nerfed my settings from the last video, so don't worry, there's not going to be crazy overpowered boss fighters this time. As well as just crazy overpowered creatures in general. But moving on, now it's time to take both of them back to my base. The last notable thing that happened on day 4 is that the bison magically grew up into an adult in the time that I was walking it back. No words. On day 5, I started the day by finding a moss chops with 2 twin level 150 babies. So... there you go. All we have to do now is continue running back. I should also probably mention that all of my babies have had full imprints so far, so they're gonna be pretty strong. I decided to name my male bison Baron and my female one something more questionable, but you know what? If it starts with a B, I'm taking it. Well, we're back. No unicorns, but you know what? That's okay. Now my plan is that I'm going to craft as much narcotics as I can because they do give a pretty good amount of XP. Then when I reach level 50, I can craft the bison saddle and take them out to scout for new base locations. We're also not skimping out on how much narcotics we're crafting right now. Besides, we're just making a lot of passive XP while I'm doing random stuff around the base, so this'll work just fine. And the stuff I decided to do in this time was just gather metal. After a few minutes of waiting, I had finally reached level 50 and gotten the bison saddle. The only thing I'm missing for the saddle is the cementing paste, so I took my moss chops and awkwardly glided across the ocean to go over to the dams. I decided that the best way that I'm going to be able to claim all of this stuff and not get killed is to leave my moss chops as a meat shield. You run. We flee. We flee. We'll be fine. We gotta get out of here. Okay, we gotta get out of here. We just survived. Dude, beavers are vicious creatures in Ark. Oh, Lord have mercy. Just fight them off. Die a hero. Die a hero. Die a hero. We're out of here. I'd say that went pretty well. By the time I ran back to base, it was already getting dark outside. But the plan is that I'm gonna saddle the bison tomorrow and take it out for a spin. On day 6, I crafted the saddle to start off the day. I then put it on Baron, and we finally have a good mount. The reason that these guys are so good is because they're extremely fast and can hold their ground with creatures up to a Rex. Pretty much day 6 is going to be dedicated to getting this bison a bunch of XP. While I was running around, I found this cool lighthouse that I wanted to check out, but surprise, surprise, there was absolutely nothing in it. After that very uneventful discovery, I started hitting trees with my bison for thatch and wood. Very shortly, I'm going to take out my bison to go on an expedition so I can find a permanent base location. I tried to cross this lake, but I was getting harassed by a bunch of beavers, so I decided to test out my bison's capabilities on them. Once I wiped them all out, I got 9 extra levels that I could put into my bison. All of them went into the melee. I decided that I want to make a platform cart that I can attach to my bison just in case something bad happens to me on the road. This would let me place a bed on my cart and potentially save my bison later. I proceeded to craft the cart and see if I can take some time to build on it. Once it was done, I placed down the bed inside and got ready to leave. Of course, I had to place down a campfire inside too, just so I can cook on the road. This should be pretty uneventful, right? Oh, no! Yeah, I got cooked by a Carno mid-compilation. It's really sad. Pretty sure some even better moments happened all the way over there. Oh god. Oh shit! Run! Sir, I'm gonna need to ask you to vacate. Here, let me just go. Let me go. Let me get out of your hair. Oh fuck. Oh, we made it back. When I arrived back at base on day 8, it was now time for me to start plotting what I want to build and where. There was also this little stowaway that came with me the whole time. I never even noticed them. Yeah, be free. Have a good one. Once I set them free, I started learning every single engram that I could. Since Baron is kind of hurt after that expedition, I'm gonna go out on Baguette and see if I can get some metal. I might as well get as much metal as I can early game, so that's just my only reasoning for going on this run. Okay, I didn't record that. We got the metal. It's smelting right now. We got like 379. I think, yeah, somewhere around there. Should not have stopped recording there. That's definitely my fault. I then crafted myself a metal hatchet because I think it's about time. I then noticed that the Ovis that I brought in with me that was on the cart has babies, and they're both male and female. Assuming we can keep these guys safe, we have unlimited mutton from now on. So I was messing around with my recording settings to try and get something more high quality. The Ovis died. I have no words. Hey, but we did get a Cuddle! Isn't that good? That's going to bring an end to the rather tragic day 8. On day 9, I found a level 140 Pteranodon that I want to tame, because maybe that can help me scout for locations better, since I'm not really too sure where I want to base at yet. Seems like everything freezes when I fucking bowl it now. Ooh, good thing I didn't hit that last one. Since I knocked the Pteranodon out, I need to try and get some prime meat. Oh, yeah, see, I would not want to be in that ravine right now. For whatever reason, I just don't think it'd be a good idea to be in that ravine. After I got the prime meat, all I had to do now was feed the Pteranodon. My only concern is that I need to get more keratin or chitin for the saddle, so I went out to go and kill some Triceratops. Once I had collected the keratin from them, I crafted the saddle. Don't worry, we named the Pteranodon what I always name him. Flappy will forever live in our hearts. While I was flying around, I noticed this huge cave entrance, which is actually really cool because it leads to this entire cavern that can only be built on with cliff platforms. And I think I kind of want to do that. But I'm going to have to get started on this grind because they are not cheap. The plan that I have going right now is that I'm going to tame a beaver, and I'm going to use that beaver to help me gather a bunch of wood where I can then craft the cliff platforms. So I got Baron back from my base and took him to go and destroy every single beaver in a mile radius. After killing the last castroids, I had to find a baby. After I did claim one, all I had to do now was bring it back to base and wait for it to grow up. Day 10 is probably going to revolve around gathering resources and maybe getting some cryopods so that I can get my creatures on top of the cliff platform, since I can't just walk them up there. When I reached my base on day 10, I had this sinking feeling that my maturation rates are extremely high because the beaver is already fully grown. Luckily enough for me, I already had all the resources that I needed to craft the saddle for the beaver. Now we've got to just take the beaver over to some trees and let it work its magic. Thankfully, it'll gather enough wood for me to be able to craft one cliff platform, and then we can expand from there. I then took out my bison to a nearby hidden waterfall cave to gather metal. It's about now that I'm realizing that I need to craft myself a fabricator if I want to keep progressing. Besides, I'm gonna need it in the base, so I might as well just craft it now and get it over with. The only immediate concern I have in this moment is just waiting for the metal to smelt. Alongside that, I crafted all of the spark powder that I'm gonna need for the fabricator. After I had crafted said fabricator, I placed it on the roof of my base since there's not really room anywhere else. Because a key ingredient in cryopods is polymer, I left to go get some obsidian so I could craft some. I'm also going to need oil for the cryopods and so I can power my fabricator, so I left to go and find a dead bacillo. You can find beached basilosaurus on this map, and when you harvest them, you get a bunch of oil and spoiled meat. I then put all of the ingredients that you need for a cryopod into my inventory and started to run towards the nearest supply drop so I could craft some. I then realized that I forgot to actually craft the polymer, which is the most important part of the pod, so I have to go all the way back to my base and get some. So after using what little fuel I have to craft the polymer that I needed, I started to run over to Red Obelisk because that's my only place where I can craft a cryopod now. But anyway, I crafted 3 cryopods, which would be huge to my progression here, and also I noticed just how bad the tributes on this map are. Day 11 started with me running back to base after crafting the cryopods. We're going to be moving into our new base very soon, so I want to finish crafting the cliff platforms as soon as possible. Once I got back to base, I piled up all the resources and finished making the cliff platform. I now have to go and fly out on Flappy so I can reach the cave and place it down. Once I had arrived, I couldn't help but notice this beautiful lighting around here. This will very quickly become my favorite base location. Now it's time to bring all of my resources over to the platform and set up a brand new house. The way I'm going to be moving everything is I'm going to throw it all into Baron's inventory, walk him over to the base, and then take trips on the Pteranodon moving it up. Once everything was picked up, I put everything into Baron's inventory and started potting up my creatures. I'm not gonna lie, I am extremely ashamed of how long I spent building. But before we worry about building, let's move everything in. This might take a while. Although I did decide that I want to throw out my creatures first. Allow me to skip over bringing everything back because it's kind of a chore. After I had brought everything into my base, it's time for me to set up the house, which is going to be one of the most annoying parts ever because I have to build using fence foundations. I then cryopotted my beaver to take out every single tree in a mile radius. And that I did. I destroyed so many trees that I was able to craft a sizable amount of building foundations. Of course, I had 0 resources left after this, so we're gonna have to do a few more runs. Anyone who's ever built with fence foundations knows exactly how annoying this is. So as you can imagine, I did have to rearrange the foundations a few times. I noticed just how uneven it gets when I was placing the walls, so that's what prompted me to do this. I did figure it out eventually though. Now it's time to start the second level of walls. The second worst time I had while building this base was definitely filling in the roof. Unfortunately, I still have to build a sloped version of this roof, which I'm gonna hate 100 times more. Let's not talk about the interior. Dear God. On day 12, I started to put skins on the walls just so it looks a little bit better. So far, it looks fine, but I'm probably going to expand to a second floor and then make the sloped roof. I then started to craft some ladders. Now that I know how the ceiling's supposed to be structured, I should have an easier time building it. But of course, I ran out of wood again, so I took out my beaver to go and farm. Also, why is this map so red? Anyway, I proceeded to craft more structures. Now that all the walls are down, it's time for me to make the roof. I've got to make the slope version soon. I hate everything. Now that the ceiling has been finished, I can finally admire just how cool my second floor looks, with the rock being the wall. As soon as I'm done building my base overall, I want to expand it into more industrial items like a grill, fridge, and a generator. But first, we have to do this stupid sloped roof.
3 hours later.
Since this house is actually extremely uneven with how the walls are placed, it's extremely difficult to fill in this gap. But don't worry, I will figure it out. I'll probably finish this soon. On day 13, I'm still struggling to finish this. However, finally, after some time, I was able to get a result that I was satisfied with. It's not perfect, but it's not very noticeable, so I'm gonna leave it as it is. Now that the base is completed, we can take care of much more important things on my mind. I started crafting a bunch of stone arrows in preparation for a tame that I want to do. That tame being either a Quetzal or an Argy. Either one of these would help me gather a lot of metal as they can carry an ankylosaur while it's gathering. In search of either one of these flyers, I flew over to the Murder Snow, which is the second coldest place in Ragnarok aside from the Murder Snow. You might be asking yourself, just how cold is it here? What do you know, I was able to find a Quetzal, but it's only level 95. I'm sure I'm not gonna get anything better. Yeah, look at what I just found. A level 145 Quetzal right next to the 95. That is insane, but I don't know, man. This one's so close to the ground. Quetzals are this kind of creature that never land. They constantly stay up in the air, and usually they are up higher than most of the mountains on this map. So it's pretty shocking to see one this close to the ground. Like, yeah, it's close to the ground on a mountain, but still, just it being that close is really crazy. Little did I know, that would be the death of it. Shortly after, I found this level 145 RG, and honestly, I might just have to go for the RG because of its speed. However, the Quetzal does have much better weight. Before we tame either one of those, I want to see if I can get a Griffin, because they are so much better than Pteranodons, and you can shoot off of the back of them. Me getting one would completely revolutionize this playthrough, so I gotta try. Off topic, I found some pretty good saddles in this yellow drop. I swear, griffins never exist when you actually want to find them, just like any creature in Ark. You might have noticed by now that my character and Pteranodon are a little bit blurry. I will fix this in the coming days because I finally found out how to use all of my screen percentage. It's more noticeable in previous videos that I've had, but it's just really annoying nonetheless. Anyway, I was able to find a griffin of the modest level of 85. I will get a better one in the future, this is just gonna be to hold me for now. Thankfully, I brought my bison with me so I can shoot off of it while running around the griffin. It was an extremely straightforward process, and it unfortunately took me like 7 minutes just to knock this thing out. No spoilers for what I'm doing in the future, but there's going to be bigger things that I tame that take even longer, and I'll do a tranking montage for those. After an excessive amount of arrows into the griffin's face, it started to run away, so I got into pursuit with my Pteranodon.
Get your fat.
The griffin already had enough tranks in its system to which it would knock out on its own. I just had to be patient. Sometime later, I saw that my tame tracker was updated and it showed the griffin's knocked out location. While I'm waiting for it to starve down, I'm gonna go explore the nearby areas. Tomorrow, I'm gonna utilize the griffin to help me tame my first Quetzal. Here we are on day 14, and I've just gotten a bunch of raw prime meat to help me feed the griffin. When I arrived at the griffin, it turns out it got completely meshed into the canyon, but that's okay because I'm not taking no shit like that, so I just ghost moded in and fed it. You can get mad at me all you want, but seriously, I'm not losing a griffin to something like that. Once it was tamed, all I had to do was get it out of the mesh, so I just cryopoded it. Thank you for your service, Flappy. You will be dearly missed. Since we now have the best flyer on the map, we can explore it like it's nobody's business. I'm gonna be honest, I've never really used griffins that much, so it's gonna take me a second to get used to how they're supposed to fly. I got used to that faster than I thought. When I got back to base, I uncryoed Flappy and started to repair my crossbow because it's pretty much destroyed. The reason that everything's laggy right now is because the UE 5.5 update just came out, and I'm pretty sure it's still very buggy, because this is pretty much a very on and off thing. Sometime later, I found a huge herd of ankylosaurs, one of them being a level 135 with a baby. So I have to clear out every single creature in this herd first, then I can claim the baby. Fortunately, I brought my bison with me so we can take these guys out pretty effortlessly. After some clearing, I was able to tame the ankylo and start bringing it back to base. Don't worry, it did get a full imprint. I then started to craft a bunch of trank arrows because it's finally time for me to go after the Quetz. I made sure to also make the ankylo saddle just so it's ready to go for when it fully grows up. After a long wait, it's finally time for me to go out and tame the Quetzal, or at least try to. The issue that I'm having right now is that the Quetzal is in the murder snow. So it's extremely cold over there, and the chances of me making it out alive are pretty low. But there's no harm in trying, right? On day 15, I was closing in on the Quetzal's location, and I'm ready to knock it out. I'll make sure to cut back to regular gameplay if something goes absolutely horrid. I had to cut it really short because my health is not doing okay right now, and neither is the Quetzal. Yeah, this game sucks. At least the loot from this yellow drop is fairly useful. Doing my best to move on from that loss, I went home and crafted myself a full set of flak armor for better protection. Since we're now well suited for the environment around us, it's time for me to go out and tame the level 145 RG that would be used as a substitute for the Quetzal. Once I found the RG, I started pummeling it with trank arrows, and it was actually a very easy knockout because of their now new headshot multiplier. I then decided that I want to just be able to craft the saddle so I can mount on it immediately upon it being tamed, so I went out to go and kill this arksurvivalascended for its chitin. I also killed some mantises for their chitin and organic polymer. All that's left now is some raw prime meat. I then changed my screen resolution to use up 100% for a cleaner picture. I don't think my frames liked it. We're messing around with a bunch of settings right now, and I completely murdered my FPS. Trying to get a cleaner picture. And everything has shot itself into oblivion. Lord have mercy. Oh, what? What? What happened? Why am I on 4K? After some finicking with the settings, I was finally able to get the clearer picture. I know it might not have a huge difference to you, but oh my god, when I'm looking at my screen, it looks so much better now. When I arrived at the RG, I was not surprised to find that it had also glitched completely into the mesh, so once again, I'm going to ghost mode, and you can't stop me. Once she was tamed, I named her Sarge for some reason, and then cryopotted her to take her out. Now that we have the RG, we can finally do proper metal runs. We'll get started on them on day 16. To start off the day, I decided to gather a bunch of fiber with my moss chops. Once I got back to base, I uncryoed my new RG and saddled her up. Something that's occurring to me right now is that for the industrial items, I'm not just missing metal, I'm missing polymer and oil. Not to mention electronics, which I need silica pearls for. I then learned the entire scuba suit so I can do a quick diving expedition. All I really needed to craft was the leggings and flippers because I got a pretty nice scuba tank from one of the drops. This should be pretty straightforward because there's not a lot of megalodons in these waters, at least not yet because I haven't really loaded them in. Anyway, I then started descending down over to the silica pearls. Fortunately, there weren't just plenty of pearls down here, there was also oil nodes, which is amazing. After I was done ascending to the surface, it's now time for me to turn those silica pearls into electronics. When I got back to base, that's exactly what I did. I made 24 electronics, which would all be used for industrializing my base. Once the electronics were crafted, I moved my fabricator to save space in my base. I also finally crafted myself a generator, which is going to be huge. I want to address the lag problems really quick and just say that those aren't my fault. The UE 5.5 update is still extremely buggy even after they claim to have fixed it. My FPS is still much better than before. I used to average 30, now I'm getting over 70 on the usual, but again that does vary and I randomly get bad spikes down to like 20. Pretty soon we're about to go on a big metal run, which is going to fund the grill and fridge. Thankfully there were some nodes right above my base so I didn't have to travel too far, but I'm still going to go to a nearby hidden waterfall cave where there's plenty of nodes. That'll probably do for now. On the way back, I kind of started waterboarding my Anki, which will soon prompt me to give her a name. Water girl. It's quite possibly the stupidest Ankylosaur name ever. I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna need more refining forges in my base. So I set out to do just that, gathering a bunch of stone so that I can expand my forge production. Not to mention the hide. On day 17, we started placing a bunch of the new forges that I had crafted. Naturally, this also meant I had to move my smithy. Now it's time to address one of the biggest problems I've had recently, and that's my lack of food, because I just genuinely haven't been cooking anything, so I'm always at a low HP. That's why I started to make a bunch of cooked meat in my campfire. I'm gonna need a lot of fuel for the campfire to keep it going, so I took out my RG and cryopotted my beaver with me. This fuel isn't just for my campfire though, as my forges also need a lot. Once I got back to base, it's time to fill them up. With my forges now smelting all of the metal I'm gonna need, all I have to do is wait. I decided to also upgrade my storage while I was at it, but I'm still using the small boxes for some reason. I proceeded to then take out my Anki to a nearby metal mountain. But I'm not there for the metal, I'm there for the crystals, since I really need it to progress. Don't worry, you're not the only one absolutely dying from the lag right now. It wasn't even like this when I was playing. I'm really confused. Now that I've gotten a sizable amount of crystal, I can return to base. I had a montage for that bit, but now it's kind of worthless because it's extremely laggy, even though my FPS says it's fine. Either way, I finished crafting the grill. This would be shortly accompanied by the fridge, but I'm just missing some metal. I can't believe it took me this long to get a sustainable food source, but you know what, it's okay. As long as I have it, I'm happy. Since the metal is passively smelting at base, I want to go and do something productive with my castroids, like build a raft because I want to tame a megalodon. A megalodon would be a very strong underwater mount that I can use to help me gather more pearls and oil at increased rates. I'm running out of that stuff pretty much the second that I get it, so if I can just get a good supply, that'd be really good. I then proceeded to place the raft and suit it up for this underwater expedition. Luckily, megalodons spawn in large groups, so it's not hard to find them in general, but it's kind of difficult to get a good level. Oh, this thing will probably be done taming on day 18. Here we are on day 18 and it's not even topo running yet. I don't know what to expect because I never really tame megalodons, but maybe it'll surprise me in a good way. For now, I still need to knock this thing out and not attract all of its friends. Gotta lead them away before we even try this. Once the huge pack of megalodons had diverted their attention from me, I can single out this solo megalodon that I want to tame. Got it. The saddle isn't very expensive at all, so this shouldn't be too difficult. We just have to wait for this thing to starve down. I decided that if I want to tame this thing, it's going to be with the most top-notch meat I can find, so I went out to go and get some ovis. Conveniently enough for me, the one that I killed had a female baby, so it can be a replacement to the one that I lost all of that time ago. I will have to bring this thing back to base before we can tame the megalodon. With the ovis now at base, I'm setting sail towards the megalodon to feed it. And yes, I do have the saddle in my inventory because I had just crafted it. That was pretty straightforward. I'm also just gonna leave my griffin on the raft here because I don't necessarily care about bringing it back. It should be safe here. Something I should mention is that I finally got myself a pike. It only took me like 18 days. I'm now going to skip over to a part where I actually find some resources that I'm here for. I managed to find some oil, but unfortunately I wasn't able to harvest everything before a couple megalodons got too close to me and I had to retreat. I found a loot crate as I was heading deeper, and I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of the worst ones I've ever found. Finally, after so long, I found a huge deposit of silica pearls, which would be very useful. Alongside the pearls, there was some more oil. Ultimately, I was able to get over 800 pearls and 140 oil. On day 19, we were heading back to base. Don't worry, I did make sure to pick up my griffin first. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how many times I'm actually gonna be using this megalodon, but at least I have it now. I proceeded to deposit all of my newly found resources into my fabricator and craft the fridge. I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention this, but I moved my storage boxes upstairs, and now my grill is where they used to be. I decided to also place my fridge up here, cause why not? I swear, my storage might get better later. I don't know. For now, I'm gonna set out to the desert on my griffin. I'm genuinely still so confused on why the fuck this map is so red. Ragnarok? What about Ragnarok? I'll see myself out. I'm not actually too sure what I'm here for, but I guess if I find a good level Fasolasuchus, I might tame it. However, I don't know what use that'll actually be for me. Either way, I did find this level 135, but I'm probably not gonna tame it for now, if not ever. I did manage to find this very fanged looking Titanosaur, which is actually terrifying. I found nothing of use here. I'm still gonna keep exploring because pretty soon I want to do some artifact caves, so I want to get to know the map more. Oh, Quetzal. Wow, that is such a troll, it's not even funny. Yep, I found a max level Quetzal in the murder snow. I'm so ashamed. But that doesn't matter, because we've already tamed an RG, and I don't want to sacrifice all that time into getting a Quetzal just for it to die. So I thought I might as well do something productive by going over to my favorite cave on Rag. The reason that this is my favorite map is because on arksurvivalevolved, this had the easiest artifact spawn ever. All you had to do was break some rocks, and it would be right here. But unfortunately, they actually removed that, and you have to do a different cave for it now. I didn't know that at the time, so every second that I spent here was an absolute waste. After I did realize, I left and tried to do something that would actually matter in my day. I thought something fun would be for me to go to Viking Bay and see if I can claim the chest at the shipwreck. Unrelated, but I took a shortcut back to base with some very unfriendly neighbors. They did not enjoy my company. I'm gonna need to do something about all these guys soon because that is a stupid amount of wyverns. On day 20, I cryoed up my megalodon to bring him over to the bay. Let's just hope that this goes well and we keep our megalodon at the end of it. The reason I'm saying this is because this bay is infested with a lot of megalodons and mantas that could shred mine apart. At the very start, it wasn't going too bad. I had full control of everything and I wasn't taking a lot of damage. But then, I started to get violently assaulted by an entire school of megalodons, and I was so confused where they came from that I just decided to leave. These guys completely messed me up, like it's not even fair. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why I was just roaming around in search of things to do when I could be taming a Thyla or a Saber so that I could get a good caving creature, but whatever, right? I might have also found the creature that I'm gonna use to help me clear out the Wyvern Trench. That's level 135 Giga. Maybe I'll find something good at the swamp, right? Like a good level Deinosuchus? Absolutely not. I did find this castle with some poison wyverns above it though. This looks pretty cool. One of the last notable things that I found was this torture cave or something, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot more brutal in arksurvivalevolved. Not gonna lie, day 20 was kind of stale. I'll see you guys on 21. What in the name of God? Day 21 started with me repairing my crossbow. Shortly after that, I started to make a bunch of stone arrows, which were very quickly turned into tranks. In even just the next 9 days, you guys are going to see this base completely transform. Just wait. But before we get into building, I want to actually be able to not be freezing all the time on this map, so I killed an Ovis for its pelt. I guess I also did get a bunch of raw mutton, which is cool. The sheep did not go to waste, as it is now going to be keeping me very warm. Pretty much 99% of the time, I'm going to be wearing flak and fur armor combined, but if I get really cold, I'm going to wear full fur. I'm kind of ashamed that I haven't actually started to make any efforts to do caving trips, so I'm gonna go out and tame a Thyla. Thylas are extremely good for caves and arguably one of the best. I managed to get extremely lucky and find this level 135 as the first one that I saw. I didn't actually know it at the time, but I did not have enough trank arrows to knock this thing out. This still somehow wasn't the worst part of the entire trip, as it was kind of laggy. The Thyla was pummeled full of trank arrows, but unfortunately I still couldn't knock it out. So I had to leave a waypoint to make sure that I can come back later. But before we do that, we have to craft a ton of new arrows. The difficulty here isn't actually crafting the arrows, it's getting the narcotic, so I cryoed up Baron and took him to gather more narco berries. In my berry gathering craze, I got ambushed by a pack of allosaurs, which would actually lead to a very fruitful outcome. 130 allo? Baby? Okay. Finally, we actually have a good carnivorous creature. The fact that that creature is also an allosaur that I can imprint on makes it 100 times better. I've been missing a lot of flint for the arrows, so I decided to go out on my Yankee and gather some. I proceeded to craft a lot of arrows. Don't worry, I did throw out the Allosaurus because it's gonna need a lot of care. On day 22, I started gathering all the hide that I'm gonna need for the Thyla and Allo saddle. I might as well mention when I got back from my trip, my Allo was fully raised. Maybe my maturation settings are high, but I don't think so. I came back to base and I was greeted with 114 narcotics that I crafted in the mortar and pestle, which will go a long way. With my newly acquired trank arrows, I started heading back over to the Thyla to finally tame it. I thought it would be really annoying to find, but I managed to get it pretty quickly. And yes, we will be fixing the lag very shortly. After an excessive amount of trank arrows into the big cat, it finally went down. Oh my god, it's beautiful. I don't know why I was so laggy earlier, probably because I was loading in the redwoods for the first time, and also because I had DLSS on. I found this level 20 Thyla that had a baby, but I didn't know just how important this guy would be to my Thyla line. Holy shit, look at this thing. That's so pretty. I want it literally just because of how it looks. As soon as this is fully raised, I want to breed them both together just so I can get the cyan colors on a baby. The issue is though that the baby is an extremely bad level. Moving on, I gave the knocked out Thyla all of my cooked lamb chops because for some reason these guys prefer cooked things. Either way, I'm going to be very excited for when that thing is fully tamed. While I am waiting, I'm going to bring the baby Thyla back to base just so it can get a head start on growing. Don't worry, it did get a full imprint even if I'm not going to be using it much. I then went out to go and finish the Thyla tame. By the time I was approaching its location, it was pretty much fully tamed, but it just needed to eat one more piece of mutton. Yeah. Like I said, this Thyla is going to be used exclusively for breeding until I get one with the good colors and stats. At least we got it tamed. The last things that I did on day 22 was head back to base and uncryo the Thyla next to the now fully grown cyan one. At the very end of the day, I enabled mating for both of them, and we'll have to see what comes out on day 23. I started off the day by crafting a bunch of wooden railings that I'm going to place around my tree platform so that nothing falls off. I was shocked to see that my first ever baby Thyla was already born, and it came out with all of the good stats, but not the colors. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't gonna keep this thing, because I might as well have a decent backup. For some reason I decided to name him Tyla. Don't ask, but you know what, it kinda works. Like, Tyla Coley? No? Okay, I then proceeded to craft more lamps that I'm gonna place around my base because I'm thinking it's really dark at times. Now that they are placed down, all I have to do is wait until nighttime to see how effective they'll be. Because I've been getting a pretty decent amount of hide recently, I made the Allo and Thyla saddle. I'm really glad I can finally use these guys to their fullest capabilities now that they're saddled up. Another plus is that my second baby was about to pop out. 2-1. Oh, good colors, finally. 150. Good health, good melee. Oh, yeah, that took a lot less time than I thought it would. The fact that this Thyla is not only mutated, but also imprinted means it's going to be really good in caves. Once it got a Cuddle, it got the full imprint that it's going to require, and all we have to do now is wait. The reason that I'm actually getting a Thyla now is because I want to be doing a bunch of artifact caves soon, since there's an overwhelming amount of tributes on this map. I then decided to finally take out my Allosaur to farm a ton of hide. With the Allo now unleashed onto the environment, nothing is safe, including Pteranodons, Trikes, and Stegos. No one's safe. I also managed to take out this Bronto because that's just how desperately I need hide. Now that I've gathered up a sizable amount, I cryoed my Allo and took him out at base. A plus is that I got a ton of raw prime meat, which I'm going to turn into food. Let me mention the Thyla. She is fully grown and completely ready to go. All we have to do is heal her. I had to go and do a side quest which involved taking out my beaver to farm a bunch of wood since I need to get some crop plots. I need to start farming for kibble soon, so that's my exact reasoning for why I need all this. Once I had crafted the plots, I gathered up the seeds, cryoed my beaver, went back to base, and then placed them down. The day ended with me forgetting that cryo sickness is a thing. On day 24, all of my crops were fully grown because of my crazy settings. Right now, I kind of want to tame a Rex. So I started heading over to the Redwoods Island because I've heard that they're extremely abundant over there, but I don't know yet. I need this Rex for their eggs, but if that fails, I can always use the Bio Grinder. Shortly after, I did find a level 50 Rex next to a level 140, so I'm going to be taming both of them. So before I start the montage, I just want to mention that both of them literally fell into the water after this, which is completely tragic, but I'm still going to have to make do with what I can. I am prioritizing getting the 140 back to shore because I don't exactly care for the level 50. Well, would you look at that? The Rex is on shore. Let's start this. Aiming at. Oh. While we're waiting for the 140 to starve down, I want to see if I can get the 50. Why would you move away? I was not able to get the 50, but I did find this level 20 that would do just fine. Since it was such a low level, it knocked out very quickly. Oop. I had to get into a dogfight with these Argentavis because I needed a bunch of raw prime meat. I'm not gonna lie, I probably just should have done that all by hand because the Griffin sucks at gathering. I returned back to the Rex where I killed a Microraptor that had a baby. Now, I genuinely hate these things with an absolute passion, but I tamed my first ever Microraptor. I then fed the Rex all of the prime meat that I had. I made sure to give the same treatment to the lower level 20. Because of the fact it's such a low level, it tamed very quickly. All I have to do now is wait for the 140 to tame and not let it die. Once it was ready, I think it's actually pretty decent, but I'm not going to be using it for any fighting, just breeding. Although we will need an Oviraptor to actually automize the egg gathering. On day 25, I got both of the Rexes back to base, but it's pretty apparent that I'm actually going to need an expansion to my cliff platforms. So I took out my Castroids to gather a bunch of wood that I'm going to turn into yet another cliff platform. Once it was crafted, I cryoed my beaver, went back to base, and then got both of my Rexes into their pods where I would then throw them out on the new platform. I'm thinking that this is a very good expansion that I've done, but I need more. If I want to get another platform, I'm definitely going to need more paste, so I set out to the nearby lake to get some. Now that I've gotten the paste, all I need to do now is craft the final platform that I'm going to need for now. This one's going to be used for storing my Thylas and just random miscellaneous creatures. Speaking of Thylas, my main mutated one is fully healed, and I think it's about time that I name it. Cyanide seems pretty fitting, with it being cyan at all. I started flying over the Wyvern Trench later, and I realized just how many are here. This is not okay. I'm gonna have to clear these guys out because they're gonna take over the Highlands soon. You might be asking yourself why I'm actually leaving base right now, and that's completely because I want to go and do one of my first ever caves. Spoiler, this is going to be the worst caving experience I've ever had in Ark. You might be asking yourself, why? Look at that lava. It does 6,000 damage on contact, instantly killing you and pretty much frying your tame. But as long as I'm careful, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. No! Well, I died. And so did my Thyla, which means I just lost absolutely everything to a missed jump. So all we can do now is recraft my things and pretend like nothing happened. We're literally on day 26 and I've lost my best caving creature ever. And now, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But wait, as you might have noticed just now, I was very, very laggy, which led to my game crashing. So when I logged back in, it reverted to the last time that I had saved my game when I was still alive. So we were getting the hell out of here instead of actually getting the artifact since I don't want to risk it. This was definitely an extremely stressful experience, but I'm very much welcoming a crash right now. This is the only time that I'm going to be okay with this. On the way back home, I stumbled across this red drop with a ring that actually had some extremely good riot armor pieces and an assault rifle. Now that I've returned back to base, all we have to do is pray that I don't crash again. Bruh. Well, that's okay because I actually managed to save the game at base. Now I want to do something that's a little bit less stressful, like go out and tame a cat. I don't actually have a specific reason for this, but I just heard that they're on this map and they are abundant, so I might as well try. I thought I would find one at the Redwoods Castle, but it turns out they hadn't actually spawned in yet somehow. It looks like we're gonna have to wait for them to spawn in. After a little bit of running around though, I was able to find a level 50 cat. Let me skip to when this thing is going to be fully tamed since they have a kind of strange process.
3 hours later.
I spent all day trying to tame that cat and it absolutely brutalized me and broke my armor. Some would say that I wasted the day. I would have to agree with them. On day 27, I started to fuel all of my forges with a bunch of wood since they still have leftover metal. I cryopotted my Thyla and took my Griffin out to go and explore some other possible caves I could go to. I managed to find this red drop with a ring that not only had ammo, but some very nice riot boots. I was flying around when I noticed that you can actually spawn the ice wyvern eggs from extremely far away, so this begs the question, are any of them good? I'm gonna have to find out close up, so I have to distract the parents for a bit. That sounds awful. I saw an opportunity and I glided over to the nearest egg and snatched it up. Now that I was a safe enough distance away, let's check in on the level. I'm lagging. Level 150, are you kidding me? It seems like we're having pretty good luck with these eggs, so I'm going to head over to the Wyvern Cave to see if I can get something good. Not only is there a possibility for really good eggs, there's also an artifact in here, so I might as well go. I'd have to do this at some point soon anyway. I do have full faith in my Thyla, but I do have to be careful here nonetheless. There are 2 extra pluses on this cave that I didn't even know existed. One of those being the cave drops, which give really good loot, and then another one that is the abundance of aberrant Megalania spawns. Usually on all of my previous videos where Megalania Toxin was a tribute I needed to gather, all of my endgame time was spent gathering it. The entire process that I used to do was I had to knock out a Megalania, take its Toxin, wake it up, knock it out, take its Toxin, and repeat. But now I managed to get all 25 Toxin in under 30 minutes. Moving on, I did have some Wyvern resistance, but it was nothing that I couldn't handle. I'm pretty sure this playthrough is actually the earliest I've ever started gathering Wyvern eggs. I usually do that around day 30, but you know what? That's pretty good for me. Once I'm done gathering this Megalania Toxin, I'll be sure to go and get some eggs. I temporarily cryopotted my Thyla so I can use my Griffin to scope out some Wyvern nests. The first one that I found was a level 180 Fire Wyvern, which is insane. We will more than likely be grabbing that on our way out though. After some traversing, I found my first ever artifact in a hidden room. I found a really nice red cave drop that consisted of some 800 armor flak boots, which is super good and will more than likely be used in the boss fight. Forgot to mention that I also got a really good Therizino saddle. The last thing that I did was pick up the level 180 egg and run for my life. I started off day 28 by looting a red drop with a ring that had a bunch of metal structures that I could demolish. The only thing that I have to do now at base is sort through everything that I got. I then spent some time demolishing all of those structures that I had gotten. Overall, I got over 2,000 free metal. I wanted to hatch these wyverns very soon, so I set out to the swamp to go and tame some Dimetrodons for their insulating buff. But I guess I forgot that I just got a bunch of resources that I could turn into air conditioners. Moving on, I found a level 15 Dimetrodon with twin babies, so I kinda get the 2-for-1 package here if I tame it. So I proceeded to knock it out. Looking back now, I seriously don't know why I didn't just craft the air conditioners in the first place. Sometime later, the Dimetrodon starved down enough to eat one piece of raw prime meat and it was fully tamed. I got the babies tamed immediately after too, don't worry. As soon as I got back to base, all I had to do was uncryo the Dimetrodons, and now I can hopefully incubate the eggs. Of course I can, 3 Dimetrodons isn't enough. I then grew some brain cells and crafted 5 air conditioners. These are going to be extremely helpful and the only reason why I was able to actually hatch these. Way too long later, I was able to incubate both of the eggs, so let's just hope they're gonna be good, right? Oh, here we are. 5 seconds left on both of them. Let's get it. 3, 2, 1, what's it gonna be? Alright, well, got the fire, and I got the ice. I should probably bring you guys outside now. The only issue that I'm gonna have while raising these guys is that they can't actually eat raw meat. They need milk. I can either use wyvern milk or bison milk. Thankfully, I already have bison, so I might as well just use that, right? I'll get to doing that in just a second. For now, I'm gonna move my Dimetrodons outside to not take up room inside of the house. I named my Ice Wyvern Permafrost because I thought that sounded really cool, but I'm still perplexed as to what to name my Fire Wyvern. On day 29, I started to breed my bison so I can get access to the milk. Because, you know, the female can only really make the milk if they have a baby. Unfortunately for the baby, though, we're only doing this for the milk. It would never work with your stats. But hey, would you look at that, my wyverns are growing up really well. I finally thought of a name for the fire wyvern, naming it Caldera, because that sounds pretty cool. My bisons popped out another baby because I forgot to turn off their mating, but I might actually keep this one. My wyverns are almost fully grown, which means I can take them out to level them up soon. So far, they're absolute beasts with 100% imprint, and I'm sure that they're gonna be really, really good flyers. I took Permafrost out on her first ever journey by taking Baron to go and gather some narco berries, since I need more narcotics for my trank arrows. I'm not gonna lie, bisons are super good and I might actually be utilizing them in the boss fight next to some Therizinos, but I'm still unsure if that's worth it or not. For now, I'm gonna worry about leveling up my Ice Wyvern since I need very powerful flyers. What better way to do that than going out to the desert to kill every single thing that moves, right? But seriously, I'm here for the Death Horns since they give a stupid amount of XP when you kill them. The wyvern is getting kind of low though, so I do have to heal it up. One of the best pluses about going into the desert is that you have the chance to find red drops like this, which gave me an upgraded fur cap. As well as finding the same Titanosaur that I saw earlier, I managed to find another Deathworm. Yeah, I just got 29 levels from one kill. I'm gonna call it right now and say that having 2 overpowered wyverns right now is going to save my life in the future. On day 30, I'm gonna fly my wyvern back to base with the occasional death worm kill here and there. Flying back to base, I found a red drop with a ring that contained one of the best items in the entire game. Me getting an Ascendant shotgun this early is absolutely insane and will revolutionize my caving journeys. Arriving back at base, I have to sort through everything that I got from that journey and take out my fire wyvern to finally complete the entire leveling journey. Right off bat, the fire wyvern does seem a bit better than the ice. Nonetheless, we will still be leveling it up the same way that we did with the ice wyvern by killing everything that we see in the death sands. Not even death worms are safe from my wrath, especially when they give 31 levels upon killing them. I even found a labyrinth while I was out here, but that actually terrifies me and I'm gonna hate doing that. The rest of the day was spent flying back to base while thinking exactly what creature I'm gonna be using for the final boss fight, and I've got it between Bison and Therizinos. I might just do a pack of 6 Bison and leave the rest to the Theries, but I'm unsure because I haven't even seen any good levels yet. That is the end for day 30, and hopefully on day 31 I can start finding some better Theries. On day 31 I realized just how badly I need to go get some Therizinos for the boss fight. Hopefully we can find one around the Jungle 1 area. While flying, I noticed this red drop with a ring that was landing in the same location that I was going to, so it might just be a nice little bonus. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any Therizinos while I was here, but I did get some really nice riot gauntlets alongside a shield. Not only that, I got a hollow sight for my shotgun, which is actually going to be extremely helpful in aiming. With my loss of not getting a Theri, I went over to this yellow drop to see what I can get. Okay, damn. Hit him. Yeah, look at that. Die. Yeah! Swords are quite possibly the best close combat melee weapon because of their extremely high damage. I then put all of my new loot into the storage bins. I've managed to get a ton of charcoal in the last few days, so I want to turn those all into shotgun shells, so I have to go out on my Anki and farm some spark powder. Once I dropped my Anki back off at base, I decided that I want to craft a chemistry bench so I can get more spark powder and gunpowder. Although I will need to craft more spark powder and electronics before we can craft the bench. I then proceeded to place down a metal water tank so I can have irrigation in my base. This is just gonna be a nice little plus for my crops. Anyway, I then proceeded to craft the chemistry bench. I decided to place it on my second floor just so we don't take up more space on the first. This bench will be especially useful to crafting spark powder and gunpowder at very increased rates. It's not like I was going to use a mortar and pestle throughout this entire challenge though, right? On day 32, I had all of the gunpowder that I needed to craft my bullets. You might be asking why I need all of these, and that's simply because I want to go and do another cave, which holds 2 artifacts. I made sure to also make some grappling hooks just in case. Now that we've gotten an extra 100 shotgun shells, we can head out on my wyvern to go and collect the artifact of the immune and cunning. Hopefully it'll be easy enough, but I have to go through the castle entrance, which is notorious for the amount of Aranios and Onyx. Not to mention that they can spawn up to level 400 here, so we have to be extremely careful. The strat is just doing diving runs. Once my fire wyvern eliminates the majority of the spiders and bats that are on the outside of the castle, I can go in on my Thyla. There's still some inside that I can't kill though. Once I had eliminated a satisfactory amount of them with my wyvern, I landed it at the top of the castle and took out my Thyla. However, I would need to clear a bunch of the castle with just my shotgun because the Thyla can't fit in these parts. I made a questionable decision to try and clear the castle from the bottom up. This would be a bad idea. Look at the silly amount of spiders that are over here. This is overwhelming. Just when you think you're gonna clear them all, more start spawning out of the freaking walls. Like, seriously, I don't know why this video doesn't actually have an arachnophobia warning, but if you do have that, I'm sorry. You're just gonna have to deal with it now. For now, I'm gonna just keep spamming my M1 attack on my Thyla, hoping that I can kill all of these guys. Fortunately, I was able to exterminate most of these arachnids, so I was able to cry on my Thyla and do this all on foot. did it. No loot though. That's the sad part, no loot. We did it! Definitely cost me a few shotgun shells and a lot of my brain cells, but we managed to get both of the artifacts, which we can add to our collection now. Only 8 more to go. Since I spent all of my day in a cave, which really stressed me out, I decided to go and do a quick crystal run, because that can always calm my nerves. We were kind of broke after crafting that chemistry bench, so it looks like we would need to do this at some point. Thankfully, they added a feature where my Anki can start to gather things without me having to mount it, which is an incredible thing that should have been added many, many years ago. This somehow didn't stop me from going to gather obsidian by myself. Well, I don't even know anymore. That's okay though, because after we had gathered everything that we needed, it's time to fly back to base, which surely won't take long. I then proceed to come back to base in the goddamn evening. Don't even ask me why that took so long, but again, we were extremely overweight with all of the things that we were bringing back. I took my griffin out to go and get some nice cementing paste, but I got distracted with this amazing photo mode. Not gonna lie, this entire map is beautiful. I had to get back on track shortly after to gather as much cementing paste as I could. This would be a very good investment because I got just over 1,300 cementing paste that I can turn into polymer with the newly acquired obsidian. However, me crafting that polymer would be the last thing that I do on day 33. On day 34, I head out with my RG and Anki to do yet another metal run, and this time hopefully it'll be a lot shorter. I made sure to pick up a bunch of crystal while I was there too, because I always lack that. I did get a bunch of obsidian too, don't worry. This time it didn't take me all day to get back to base, which is a very nice plus. I did have to make some occasional stops here and there because my RG's stamina isn't exactly the best, but you know, that's kind of a given. I then threw all of my resources into the fabricator and made as much polymer as I could. Now that the resource grind is over, I decided to head out on my ice wyvern to see what I can find, which started with this red drop. Let's just hope I get something absolutely revolutionary and game-changing. Spoiler, I did not, but I will take a Ascended fabricated pistol any day of the week. I think the Glock is a really underrated weapon in Ark, but I'm not gonna lie, there's so much better than that. I continued flying with my ice wyvern over to my favorite Therizino spot in hopes of actually finding one. This time I was able to get extremely lucky and find a level 140 female Therizino. I left a marker on it so that I can come back to it later and flew off into the distance so I can hopefully get some more stuff from drops. And would you look at this, I was able to find a yellow drop with a ring. This means that I could probably pull some really good loot out of this, at least if I'm lucky. And would you look at that, I was able to get a 328% long neck rifle right after I found the Theory. It's like literal streamer loot. This new rifle means that I can finally use tranquilizer darts, which are like arrows but 100 times better. Well, not actually 100 times better, but they are significantly better than the arrows, to say the least. Anyway, on day 35, I took my ice wyvern and Ankylio out to farm some flint and stone. The reason that we're doing this is because I want more spark powder for bullets, because I need to turn the simple rifle bullets that I can use in my long neck into darts. So the goal is to craft as much rifle bullets as I can and then make as many darts. I'm just hoping that the taming process to this theory is going to be pretty easy, but remember, I still need to make kibble because there's no way that I'm going to be taming this thing with berries. So I started to breed my Rexes for some eggs. I decided that I want to automate the process of getting eggs, so I set out on my griffin in hopes of finding myself an oviraptor because they can automatically gather them in a radius. I was able to find one pretty effortlessly. All we have to do now is wait for it to starve down enough so I can give it these eggs. Thankfully, it didn't actually take too long because these things starve pretty quickly in comparison to other creatures. On the way back to base, I noticed this red drop with a ring, which if you aren't aware, has the highest quality loot in the entire game. It would be very apparent when I loot this drop for the insane sniper rifle that is inside. A sniper rifle is quite possibly one of the best weapons in all of Ark, which will definitely be replacing my fabricated pistol, even if I do think it's pretty good. Returning to base, the only thing I could really do is just admire this nice sniper. Anyway, we can finally utilize my oviraptor by getting it to pick up eggs. On day 36, it was time to make the first part of the kibble, the focal chili. This is the most annoying ingredient to actually gather when it comes to the kibble, as everything else is pretty straightforward to do. This chili is actually the reason why I started to start farming crops in the first place, as without the lemons, I wouldn't be able to make it. Anyway, I proceeded to craft the kibble. What I wanted to do now is make a greenhouse expansion to my base, because I feel like my crops aren't producing as much as they could be. I'd have to do this at some point soon anyway, I'm I'm sure. Let me just cut to when this thing is going to be finished. I placed down the final ceiling piece at the end of day 36, and it's now accessible from inside of my house and from the outside, so I think it's a pretty cool extension. After a very long wait, it's finally time to go and tame that Therizino and hope it goes well. Remember, this is one of 2 Theries that I need, so let's hope I'm going to be able to get the other one soon. For now, let's knock this thing out. The new long neck rifle I have made it extremely easy to knock that thing out, almost making it unworthy of a taming montage. I had to go and kill some jellyfish soon because I need their biotoxin since I forgot to pack narcotics for the Theory. They tend to wake up really fast. And now all I have to do is wait for it to starve down enough for me to give it the 3 kibble. On day 38, I think it's about time that I start to feed the Theory. I don't think it's going to take too long considering just how effective the kibble is. Unrelated, but just look at these trees moving. Oh my god, I'm so immersed. Anyway, the Theory proceeded to get tamed up pretty quickly. The stats on it were pretty good, but I don't really know because I don't tame these guys very often. The stats might be really good, or they could be absolutely atrocious. I wouldn't have a clue. While I was flying back to base, I was just wondering where I'm actually going to be able to put this Theory since I'm running out of space. So I decided I'm going to take out my Fire Wyvern and Beaver to go and farm more stuff for a 4th cliff platform. A 4th cliff platform would help me house all of the Theories that I'm going to need for the boss fight alongside the Bison and maybe a few air conditioners if I have the space there. For now, I'm going to continue grinding the resources that I need to craft the platform and then we'll see how much we can fit on. After some time, I was able to completely finish farming all of the resources for the cliff platform. But unfortunately, I am missing all of the cementing paste that I need, so I'm going to go out to the nearby beaver dams and hopefully collect everything I need. Unfortunately for me though, every single dam that I searched had little to no paste, if none at all. I was able to finally get a beaver dam that had 50 paste in it, but I did have to fight off an entire beaver army with just my sword and shield. It was a long and hard battle that I managed to win, although don't ask why I didn't just use the wyvern throughout it all. Just, I don't know, I wanted cinematic stuff, I guess. I then crafted the cliff platform after spending all day gathering the materials. Don't ask why that took so long, but I guess I was fighting the beaver mafia. The last thing that I did on day 38 was figure out where to place it. On day 39, it's time for me to try and find the male Therizino that I'm going to need to start the boss line. Although this seems like a daunting challenge, I'm sure I'm actually going to get a streak of luck. The first place that I decided to check was my very first base location on arksurvivalevolved to Ragnarok. This is just a cool little cave that's located at Jungle 1, and I was debating building here again. It's almost like it was a calling sign to me, but I managed to find a level 145 male Therizino. Again, streamer luck. I had to kill these lower levels while I was at it too, just for the Theory claws and so that maybe a better one can spawn. You can always have a 150, you know? I then killed some low-level griffins. Arriving back to base, I recrafted the 3 kibble that I needed. You already know how this goes. I'm taking my Ice Wyvern out so that I can go tame the Theory. On the way there, I noticed this baby Bronto with his parent, but I really need that raw prime meat, you know? After that, I arrived at the cave where I found the Theory shortly after. This'll probably go well, right? I thought that there was no way I'm going to be taming this thing in the forest again, so I started to take it up to some flatter ground where I can have an easier time knocking it out. In the water. In the water. What? How are you walking? Oh my god. That's all my armor gone. Day 40, and the taming went so south that the Theory broke all of my armor, and now I have to knock it out with none. Never mind, it turns out it was a very easy knockout, but you don't really need armor when you have guns. I was able to craft myself some quick hide armor to last me through the night. Unfortunately, I foolishly did not record me throwing the kibble into the Theory's inventory and showing the tame, which is very idiotic of me. But that's okay, as I started flying back to base and claiming this pretty decent yellow drop on the way back. Now that we are back, all we have to really do is sort through the stuff that we got from the journey and get mentally prepared to start breeding a bunch of Therizinos for the boss. If I'm not clear on what I'm actually bringing to the boss quite yet, I'm going to be bringing 13 Therizinos, 6 Bison, and a Eutyrannus. I then crafted and placed down an electrical generator that will be powering my Therizino boss plant for the next little while. Speaking of Theries, I placed down air conditioners right next to the female so that when the eggs pop out, they can instantly incubate. I got extremely lucky because the first baby Theory that I got was a male with all of the good stats, so that completely overshadows the male that I just tamed since it actually has worse stats than the 140 female. Once I had imprinted on my new male breeder, all I have to do now is give a funny little monologue before the montage. And this entire cliff platform should be filled filled up with boss theories by day 50. So let's hope we can do that, right? Be pretty embarrassing if we couldn't. Yeah, let's get right into it. After a grueling 10 days of grinding, our army is finally finished. Now I want to make sure that none of the fairy babies go to waste. You know, all the meat that we just got from this is gonna definitely fund me until the end of this video, and that's not a lie. You see, I've recently not been getting very good loot from anything, and now that the entire boss army is finished, this feels like a good excuse for me to go and do the Ice Worm Cave. If you don't know what that is, it's essentially a cave with a big ice worm. You're welcome. As you can imagine, it's extremely cold in there, so I want to make sure that I'm prepared and not freeze my balls off. Now that I've suited up, it's time for me to take out my Thyla and Fire Wyvern to head out over to the cave. You guys want to know something great? They completely fixed the lag on arksurvivalascended now, so there is no more spikes and I'm going to be having a solid 60 FPS from now. Moving on from that amazing fix, I found myself at the front of the cave. The artifact isn't the only good thing that's in this cave, there's actually a ton of insane loot. However, it is extremely dangerous here, so I have to be very cautious so I don't die. For some reason I decided to go in with my shotgun first instead of using my Thyla, which is kind of questionable, but I did start to use my Thyla after some time. Look how insane she looks in this cave, it just matches so well. Unluckily for me, I was freezing in here, so that means I have to get better fur armor before I want to traverse further. Free drop? I'm not even like in the cave, really? That's not scripted. On everything I love, that's not scripted. Looks like we got the better chess piece. On day 52, it's time for me to actually venture into the cave and hopefully not die. Looks like I finished the cave because it's pretty quiet in here, so I guess I'll just go grab the artifact. Oh my god, what is that? I didn't know there was going to be a boss here. I also didn't realize just how crazy the loot here gets. I upgraded my sniper rifle. I was able to get some nice saddles here and there alongside good weapons and armor. All I have to do now is collect the artifact in this creepy room with baby ice worms and a still alive Giga for the babies to eat when they hatch. I respect the grind. I now only have to collect 2 more artifacts before I have to venture into the treacherous Life's Labyrinth. We're gonna worry about that later though, as I emerged out of the cave on day 53. I'm genuinely shocked at how much of a success that entire caving journey was. Don't even question how I'm gonna sort all of this in my tiny storage boxes at home. As soon as I arrived, that's exactly what I started doing. Now that I've sorted through all of my stuff, I wanted to head over to the Creator Cave to see who's there. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a cave that's dedicated to a bunch of Ark creators and developers who helped make this map or support it in some way. Either that or they've just been making content on Ark and been recognized by the developers. As you can imagine, I am not here. I would love to make my debut in one of these caves one day, but I'm just not sure that I've done a very good job at representing the decisions that Ark's been making recently. Fuck the pyromane. I still stand behind that last statement. Pyromanes are extremely annoying on the center. Moving on, it's really good to see a lot of these creators being represented in this cave, but I couldn't help but realize that Granty is not here. What are we doing? Who is Riz, and why are they cemented into Ark history forever? Riz, if you're watching this, I mean no hate. I think it's actually hilarious that we have a brain rot term in here now. I heavily enjoyed reading all of the names in there, and if you were featured, then congratulations. On the way back home, I accidentally stumbled across the Wyvern Trench where I angered this lightning wyvern, although its time on Earth was very short. The last thing that I did on day 53 was stumble across the Aberration Cave where I found a almost max level Karkinos and a good drop. On day 54, I'm gonna continue trying to get some decent loot. I want to tame some underwater creatures soon, so hopefully something from these drops can help me tame them. The only issue is I always have to wait a while for them to drop, but it's something that it's worth waiting for. And it definitely was, because I got a 274% crossbow that's going to be extremely helpful in underwater tranking. The drop also provided me with a billboard which I want to place down on my base as a welcome sign. I'd say that that's pretty welcoming. I am ready to go out and explore the ocean, so all I have to do now is craft some trank arrows. I don't know what I'm gonna find down there. I do, however, know for a fact that I want to tame a plesiosaur because they are extremely fast and pretty strong. But above all, I kind of want to tame a Dunkleosteus because they can farm metal underwater. The final thing I did was cryopod my griffin and jump into the water with such badassery nobody can actually compare. Because of the fact I've passively left my Megalodon doing nothing for a while, it had a bunch of free levels. The plan is I'm going to circle the Ragnarok ocean until I find something worth taming, and when I do, it gets knocked out. Let's just hope I get a good level fast, right? The first pair of plesiosaurs that I found were awful levels, so I had to move on. Oh. I'm shocked I haven't found one. Just like Mosasaur in general. I'm gonna kill you then, boy. I think this thing is like bugged. It spawned in like territory it shouldn't be in. These things have so much health. At least I found like 150 once that had like 170k. It's crazy. Strat never fails. Just stay above the Mosa. I've done this so many times. The bleed is probably carrying me so hard right now. I just hope it'll count that I killed it. I didn't get the kill. I hate that the bleed does that. Although that was a pretty uninteresting way to end day 54, it was kind of funny. I don't want to bore you with endless underwater exploration, so let me cut to when I find something pretty cool. We found two fucking great things right here. We got a 130 Mosasaur. Yep. We also got a 135 Plesio. Now which one I tame, that is a question to say the least, because the Mosa is strong, but the Plesio is a lot faster, like a ton faster. But I think I'm still here for those Dunkleos. However, if I don't find a Dunkleo, we know what we're taming. Look at the size of this motherfucker. Let me just give you a quick spoiler. We did not find a Dunkleo. In fact, I'm pretty sure none even spawned on this entire map, which is ridiculous. Like, how big is this map again? 144 square kilometers and not one Dunkleo. Obviously, I didn't know this at the time, so I was mindlessly roaming the ocean. At least I was mindlessly roaming until I found a red drop, but these Megalodons really didn't want me to get to it. I wish I didn't even bother because the loot was so bad, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to recover from this. I'm never trusting an underwater drop again, but I tamed this Ichthyosaur up because I thought I might as well have an even faster method of getting around. I then quickly discovered a level 130 dolphin, so I decided that that's much more worth it to tame over the one I have. Although it is going to take a while for me to tame it because it wants some raw prime meat. So I momentarily cryopoded my Megalodon and took out my Griffin to go and get some. I was thankfully able to get a bunch from a baby Carno, so that's gonna fund the entire tame. With the prime being secured, let's go and feed the dolphin. It is going to require one more, but that's not gonna be extremely difficult because it's already starved down enough for me to feed it again, although these Megalodons are definitely interrupting the process. After kiting them away, I was able to finish up the tame and name my new Ichthyosaur Iggy. On day 56, I had to go up to the surface to farm up the resources that I need to get the saddle. Now that it's crafted, let's take her out. I'd like to apologize for the horrid graphics here and there, it's just the fog issues. By the way, we're going to be taming the Plesiosaur first, and we better get it out of the way. Now for the Mosa. I'm gonna hate this. Well, there it is. I may or may not have done a silly little mistake and forgot to bring the narcotics. However, on day 57, I didn't realize that yet, so I was still trying to gather up prime meat to tame them. After killing the Bronto, all I have to do is wait for these two aquatic beasts to starve down. I left my dolphin unattended for a few minutes, and now it's completely bloodied up by these megalodons. I'm really sorry, Iggy. This is where I started to notice that the Mosa is about to wake up. So I gotta go back to base very shortly to go and get all of the biotoxin. But hey, at least the plesio's ready first. Might get the plesio. Okay, we did. What are your stats? 14,000 health and 422 melee. Are you kidding? That's so good. I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot how crazy the plesio stats can get. By the way, I need to fly back to base right now to go and get the biotoxin, or else the Mosa is gonna wake up.
3 hours later.
I was able to get the narcotics and start swimming back over to the Mosa. Now that I've given it the biotoxin, it should stay knocked out until it's fully tamed, which is a relief. While I am waiting, I just want to point out how good this ichthyosaur looks. I don't think I've actually had a nice collar combination like this one before. The only issue now is that I brought 3 cryopods. I have 4 underwater creatures, so Iggy is gonna have to stay behind. I'm sure she's gonna be fine by this rock, right? Right? The second that I get back to base, I want to make these guys saddles and take them out to level. They're definitely going to be taking up a lot of space in my waters here, but that's okay. Looking back at this recording right now, I really did think I was going to use the Plesi and Mosa more often, but there's only one underwater artifact on this map, so it wasn't exactly something that I needed to do. Anyway, I crafted my Loch Ness Monster a saddle. These guys are definitely underrated, and I recommend you taming them in your playthroughs, because you will enjoy them. Let's see just how good they can get, though. On day 58, this thing is like a Formula 1 car underwater. I didn't know that this thing came with a freaking built-in V8 engine. I'd like to mention that this guy's hitbox is absolutely tragic because I wasn't hitting anything. He'll probably just be a mobility mount at the end of the day because there's no way he can top the Mosa. Speaking of which, I found an Alpha Mosa that I want to take out later. I decided to call it at that for my Plesiosaur leveling journey, so I cryopoded him up and swam back to base. I then made the Mosasaur saddle because it's her turn. This is gonna be pretty cool, I think. The first order of business is taking out that alpha for all of the levels I can get. Speaking very truthfully, this is 100% the most annoying kill I've ever had to do underwater because of my Mosa's egregious turning circle. By the end of day 58, this thing still wasn't dead, which really annoyed me. On day 59, we're still 1v1ing, and I am not looking good. We need to finish this right now because it's taking way too long. Made it. I managed to get 43 levels, which means that this Mosa is going to be insane. Now, I am going to give this the most amount of health that any one of my creatures has in this video, and yes, it's extremely overpowered, but don't worry, I literally never use this guy again. The reason I didn't use it much in the video is because it has 51,000 health. That is an insane number for HP, so for it to heal back to that amount, it would just take too long, and I didn't want to waste a day just healing it, so I left it. In this moment, I still wanted to give it some hope, so when it returned to base, I wanted to heal it. Before I did that, though, I started to put all of the angler gel that I got from the angler fish into my forges so that I can smelt whatever metal is left. I made the decision to just leave a bunch of food in the Moses inventory so it can heal by itself, and I took out my Anki and RG to go and farm metal. This metal run is the last interesting thing that I did on day 59, aside from suplexing this Carno that tried to interrupt me. On day 60, I was finishing up my metal grind and returning back to base. At least this time it didn't take me all day to get back. Once I flew into the entrance of the cave, my Anki started living up to her name. This is that moment where I started to realize that my forges are going to be working overtime. I then made the mistake of starting to heal my Mosa. It took all day and I barely made a dent. On day 61, I took out my Plesiosaur to go and do the artifact of the Devourer, which is in the Tuso Trench. The artifact isn't even in a cave, it's just guarded by a bunch of huge squids. So in reality, the hardest part of getting this artifact is waiting for a clearing to open so that you can grab it. When I saw the opportunity arise, I immediately seized it. That means that there's just one more artifact that I need to collect before we have to venture into the Life's Labyrinth. The rest of the trip was pretty relaxing except for the part where I stumbled across Iggy. I thought she would be safe on passive flee, but she just took it and died. I had to make sure that she was avenged, so I started killing all of the megalodons in the nearby area. This supplied me with a plentiful amount of XP. Safe to say, it was a very silent swim home. Because my mic was muted. Although I did find this low-level Tuso that I promptly exterminated because I'm gonna need their tentacles for the alpha boss fight. I then arrived at base. My artifact collection is looking pretty good, but again, I'm still missing 5 of the other ones. I know that I'll get to one of them within the next few days, but I'm trying to do the labyrinth on day 80. For now, I want to redo the ice worm cave because I got some insane loot last time. I just gotta check over my armor to make sure that none of it's gonna break, and I have enough. I know that redoing caves is really boring, but this one is seriously something that everybody has to do. At the very least, it'll be easier because I've already done it. I will also be using my shotgun less and just using the Thyla. On day 63, I left the cave with all of my new loot. I'm not sure how many more times I'm going to be coming back to the ice cave, but I can guarantee there's going to be at least one more. And yes, we will do the lava cave at some point, but I just need to figure out if that's possible. For now, I'm gonna wait for this red drop to land. When it did, it just gave me a bunch of random metal structures, which all suck. I know what I said about trying to tame a better level griffin as time goes on, but I just given up on that now. Peter is my main mount. Hey, at least I got a sweet veggie cake from that drop. I'm gonna need to farm like 100 or more later in this video, so that's gonna be really nice. Right? I then took out my wyvern to go and run some errands. You can find burnt down trees near the volcano and they give a ton of charcoal, so I don't know why I was just using refining forges to gather charcoal until now. I guess I forgot these trees exist. This is all going towards gunpowder so I can make more shotgun shells, because I find I'm running out very quickly. Now that I've farmed up several hundred charcoal from the nearby trees, it's time to go back to base. God! Now I want to take out the Anki so I can go get some flint and stone for spark powder. This thankfully didn't take too long because of how effective the Anki is. On day 64, I aura walked back to my chemistry bench. I crafted as much spark powder as I could and it was a pretty bountiful amount. This was then turned into a huge surplus of gunpowder. Seconds later, that gunpowder was manufactured into bullets. Can somebody please tell me why it's so difficult to make shotgun shells in this game? Either way, that's a lot. 180 shotgun shells should last me for a while. With my arsenal loaded, I cryopotted my Thyla and headed out. The reason that I'm leaving base right now is so I can do the last artifact before the labyrinth. This artifact is also the same one that I died in all of those days ago, so hopefully it'll go better this time. Here we are on day 65 and I'm cinematically flying through the desert with my ice wyvern in a thunderstorm. This looks pretty cool. They did the weather effects really good on ASA. Yes, I definitely stopped for some photo shoots. After those were done, I made it back to the cave where I had infamously died at all of those days ago and geared up. Okay, let's go. All things considered, this cave is pretty easy, but I was just reckless last time I was here, so that's why I died. I had minimalistic resistance from the cave creatures, but 2 spiders did decide to annoy me. When it came time to go over the bridges, I jumped over them with such grace that every single Olympian would have to study off of me. Luckily, I was able to jump over the pillars with such good form that I didn't fall in. I did find some cool drops here and there. This one actually had an assault rifle and some shotgun shells, although I won't really be using the AR. The final bit of enemies I had to take out was this silly little bat. After a tiny bit of exploring, I found the artifact. Now I just can't risk falling into the lava. Tells me I'm not gonna have a fun time if I fall in there, so I'm not even gonna risk it. Whew. Whew. The lava golem is over there, but I don't think I can do that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that's possible. The reason that I don't think I can do the lava golem cave in this video is because of the heavy nerf that they did on rocket launchers, alongside the fact that every single guide that I've watched on it uses the pay-to-win Pyromane or a tech rifle. I know, everybody has the Pyromane now, and oh, it's cool to have the Pyromane. I don't care. I'm not gonna get it because I've already made a point on it in the past several times, so now it'd be really awkward if I just changed that. Maybe at some point in the future I'll buy it, but I'm definitely not gonna be doing it this late into the challenge with its only purpose being to do a cave. So yeah, that's my point on the Pyromane and why I won't be getting it in this video, but maybe at some point in the future I'll have one. So that's my statement on the Pyromane for now, and that's the end of day 65. On day 66, I'm continuously flying back to base, but I did stop by this castle that has cats at it. There were also some poison wyverns here that I had to quickly dispatch. I'm here because I'm willing to tame a cat again, but that's only if they want to be tamed. Jesus Christ, I am not a cat person. Hopefully I can find some of the stragglers that are left, but why did they keep attacking me? I had no choice. Either way, I did find this level 90 cat that was friendly and ready to be tamed. I'm gonna name him Whiskers or something, I don't know. I put helmets on you, Jesus, that's sick. Alright, hold on. So what if I was gonna do that, but I like wanted to make you a cowboy? Could I do that? Oh my god. Nah, I'm calling you Willie now. Just like that, a legend was born. Now I have to go back to base, but there's still some new poison wyverns that I have to take care of. I hate how fast they respawn. Check this. Using my advanced parkour skills, I was able to get back on my wyvern with ease. I should also mention I found this level 135 Deinosuchus, which I'm gonna be taming in the next few days. I attempted to tame it without a ghillie suit, but obviously that wasn't gonna go well, so I had to retreat. While I was flying past the green obelisk on day 67, I noticed the level 135 Giga that I was supposed to tame all that time ago. I suppose we could probably take some time into taming that now, right? I then made it back to base and checked on the metal that's in my forges, and it's pretty good, so it should be enough for me to get a bunch of trank darts. But first, I'm gonna need narcotics, and for narcotics, I need narco berries, so I cryopotted one of my bison and headed out to go and gather some. I wasn't exactly aware of this, but this bison would 100% be carrying that Giga tame. I made sure to get some regular berries as well because some of my bison and theries are starving. I decided to check some of my water creatures' inventories to see if they have any spoiled meat, but I was shocked to see that they have absolutely zero. Never the matter, I already had enough to make a decent amount of narcotics. However, the amount of narcotics that I had only translated into about 46 trank darts, and I'm gonna need at least 3 times that to tame the Giga. That's exactly why I was preserving this dead Basilo at the front of my base. I knew I was going to need it one day. That Basilo gave me enough resources for me to craft 228 narcotics, which translated into 76 darts, so now I have everything I need. Except for the metal gateways that I need for the trap. Fortunately, I was balling in metal, so I was able to craft the trap. I've crafted everything that I need to tame the Giga, so now I'm going to head out. It's day 68. I didn't realize this at the time, but I didn't pack any of the actual narcotics that I needed to keep the Giga asleep once I knock it out, so I'm gonna have to go back to base later. This is quite possibly going to be my least favorite tame that I've done in this entire video. I then placed down the gateways and 2 metal bear traps in the middle to keep it secured for a bit for me to put down the last gate behind it. I'd like to mention that this is one of those times where the arksurvivalaskended graphics look absolutely scrumptious. Since I forgot to bring narcotics with me, this tame didn't really work out as I wanted it to, so I'm not going to do the montage right now, but I will later. I was able to get it stuck in the bear traps, and I placed the last gateway behind it. That little pause that I had there was me realizing my mistake. I proceeded to fly back to base and get the narcotics that I needed. Sometimes I genuinely have room temperature IQ when it comes to this game. I'm sure that it didn't get out of the trap in the time that I was away, right? Lord have fucking mercy. I don't know what I was trying to do there. You remember how I said I brought the narcotics? Well, yeah, the bison is going to be getting them for me right now. I'm going to give myself a bit of an easier time now by using the bison to help me trank out the Giga. Allow me to show you when we got it into the trap. Come on, this is it. Get his ass in. Mother... I hate everything. I think we're going to lose the bison. That took me way too long to do, didn't it? She's fine. Well, at least we knocked her out. On day 70, I'm just gathering every little bit of prime meat I'm gonna need to tame her. I feel like Gigas are kind of overrated at times, but not gonna lie, it's just fun to tame them and have it, you know? I'm really glad I brought the bison with me because it was the sole reason that the Giga stayed asleep. Well, with my new Giganto tamed, I looked at its stats and oh my god, they're egregious. Maybe one of these days I'll get a good melee stat, but I don't know if that's gonna be in this video. With me being back at base, I uncrowed my Giga and Bison, so the only thing I have to do now is make the Giga a saddle. That's not gonna be on day 70 though. On day 71, I was really saddened that my laser pointer wasn't working with my cat. Speaking of my cat, I gave him a mining helmet that's gonna stay on him until the end of the playthrough. After some anticipation, I crafted the Giga saddle. Now that she was saddled up, I can cryopod her and take her out to level. Even if she did get an inherently low melee stat, that's okay because she's still going to be extremely powerful. Well, let's get right to the killing, huh? I found a high-level, fully white bison that I just think looks so cool, so I have to tame it. His name is Albert. Anyway, let's get back to it. I'm not quite sure why I did this, but I put a sniper scope on my shotgun, which is just such a Call of Duty thing I can't express. It's not even a bad attachment for the shotgun. Finally, after 71 days, the volcano erupted. I live so close to the volcano, and I've never seen this happen before, but I guess it's because I only had limited play sessions before. Now I did like 40 days in one sitting. Don't ask. I'm just glad I got to see it, although I didn't get to witness one of the sandstorms in the desert. But after spending the entire day killing wyverns at the trench, I realized that I'm just simply outnumbered. Not to mention the fire wyverns are absolutely ruining my day by getting huge breaths on me and taking away a percentage of my health. I better get out of here before I lose the Giga. On day 72, we were arriving back to the lighthouse where I'd left my griffin. I decided to name my Giga Snuggles as well, because it feels very fitting. My new bison Albert is going to be staying at base for the foreseeable future. And Snuggles is going to be really useful for meat runs that I want to do later. He's just gonna sit at base and look pretty. I did my best to make him an albino bison by trying to paint his iris red, but you know, this game's very, very optimized and super good, so I couldn't do it. I did this all day. What is wrong with me? On day 73, I set out towards the desert, but not before I knocked out 2 dodos for a future use. Their uses will become extremely apparent in the coming days. You'll see. Now we head off to the desert for real this time. The reason that I'm over here is because I want to grab a bunch of polymer from the nearby cave so that I can make a ghillie suit because I want to tame that Deinosuchus. Deinosuchus? Deinosuchus. Deinosuchus, yes.
Deinosuchus.
Anyway, I started approaching the aberration cave. I got a little bit lost because all of them look pretty similar, but I was able to find it. Sorry that you're seeing random strobing here and there. I got heat stroke and Ark likes to remind me that I'm actually in a survival game. I was able to finish crafting the rest of the ghillie suit that I needed. On day 74, the entire ghillie suit was completed, which means I can go after the Deinosuchus. I feel like I should be taming 1 Deinosuchus per playthrough just because of how good they are, but I'm just not sure what I'm gonna use it for. Although I'm confident I'll figure it out, right? I was supposed to tame a Dinotherium, but the oversized elephants just weren't spawning for me. I'm yet to tame one to this day, but maybe in the next video I will. When I got to the swamp where the Deinosuchus resides, I had to go and get some prime meat from a nearby Parasaurtherium. I don't want this tame to take too long, so let's just hope that this Dino enjoys all of the prime I give it. Sadly, I didn't tame it by the end of day 74, but on day 75, we were making some progress. And you ready for the shortest day in Simply Filippo history? Because all day was spent taming this stupid Deinosuchus. I want to rip my hair out. I hated this tame so much, and I don't know why it took so long. I'm really never taming one of these guys again, and if I will, it's gonna be with kibble. After some time, it was almost tamed. Oh my god, finally. That tame might have just been the lowest point in my entire Ark career. Yeah, you're never gonna witness me taming one of these guys ever again. At the very least, I crafted the saddle when I got back to base. I still had some time to go and do some things on the end of day 77, so I took out the dino to go and level it. This Gallimimus was unfortunate enough to come across me in my crocodile. I feel like with the new melee nerf that I implemented to my servers, the Dino sucks a bit more, but it's still a really good creature. On day 77, my wrath continues. Only 3 more days until I go into the labyrinth, so I'm just killing time until then. I encountered a lone poison wyvern that I knew I had to take out, but it would be a little bit difficult considering that it can fly and I can't. All of day 78 was spent leveling up this gigantic crocodile, and I'm sure I'm not gonna regret it. I never used this thing again. At least I tamed it, although I will forever stand by the fact that this was definitely a waste of my time. On day 78, I crafted more sniper bullets because I was starting to run pretty low. These are the last few hours before I head into the labyrinth, which is going to be extremely interesting because I've never actually done it before. I then named my dodos Gerbert and Gary. I had 1878 metal that had smelted in my forges, so I decided to put that into the smithy. The metal would be put to good use as I had crafted myself a new chest piece. With this new chest piece, I have just under 2300 armor points, which is really good. I then left with my griffin to go and see if I can get some nice drops before I go into the labyrinth, and I saw this yellow one with a ring. It gave me a resupply on my pistol bullets, but that's not exactly what I'm searching for. Maybe this other yellow drop will give me something I need. Oh joy, metal supplies. Well, that wasn't very useful, was it? If I don't get some nice stuff on day 79, then that pretty much means I'm going into the labyrinth with what I have. I then looted another yellow drop, but guess what? It's not good at all. The last drop I looted had a ring, and it only gave me 24 bullets. Oh my god. On day 79, I tried to see if I can get any red loot crates in the desert. I did, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. It's really daunting on me that the labyrinth is the last set of artifacts I need to recover before I have to do the last boss fight. It's kind of a shame because I've really been enjoying Ragnarok and they've done an amazing job. It's gonna be sad to see it all go. For now, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna continue getting drops. This one, again, had bullets. You know what? F the drops. I'm ready to go into the labyrinth and take it on once and for all. While I'm in the cave, I'll do a montage here and there, but I'll mostly be talking through every single step that I do because there's a lot. Walking into the cave, I noticed a lot of spiders, which is extremely creepy. These guys aren't even fully grown. Yet. There's gonna be a lot more later. Now, the first puzzle that you need to do to start the labyrinth is to spell out the word Drakkar. With me finishing up the spelling of Drakkar, the longboat in the middle opened and led me down into a hidden chasm. Now starts the second step of many. With a door opening up on the end of this large hallway, I had to crouch walk through and press 3 buttons. So that's fun. I didn't even stand, man. I didn't even stand. I guess you were supposed to prone in here, not crouch, so that's 100% my fault. Did you notice what happened to my character, by the way? If I ever open up my inventory without context, I'm going to be cancelled. Moving on, I had to traverse through this lava-looking water, but it turns out it's actually harmless. No. Oh. Wait, that's not lava? While the water itself can't hurt me, the things that are inside most definitely can. Oh, hey. This is when I noticed just how charred my character got from that flame. What happened to me? I should not be breathing. Wait, is this racist? I'm actually confused on how I survived that. I'm still baffled as to how I survived that because I think I just had too much health. Moving on, the next jump is just a simple spike dodge. The water here isn't only infested with every single known disease, but also a bunch of Caprasuchus. If I was to fall in there, I would be torn apart. Might I add, the insane quality of loot in here almost makes it worth it to stay. Almost. You like buttons? I know I do. I had to press 2 to open this door. Now that we've made it into this room, I need to be extremely careful not to set off any traps or else I will die. What the f- Unfortunately, these spiders weren't as cautious as I was. To make sure I don't end up like those spiders, I have to remain extremely cautious. I was careful enough to avoid all of the pressure plates so I didn't get killed. Oh, I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. I'm not doing too good. Oh, I'm gonna hate this. This part of the cave is actually timed, so if I don't do it within a certain time frame, it's going to close and I have to redo it all. Fortunately, I was able to use 101% of my brain power to make it past the puzzle. Oh. Oh. One of the artifacts is down. One of the 3 artifacts on this side has now been completed. If I want to progress further into the cave, I have to make a sacrifice. Hey, you guys remember Gary the Dodo? Ooh. Now I have to fight the infamous Spirit Wolf and Bear. Defeating them will grant me the last 2 artifacts on this side. But before I can get to them, I have to fight my way through this army of scorpions and bats. To start the boss fight, I need to anger the spirits by killing one of these deer. My relentless beating towards the spirits finally calmed them down, and I was able to claim the last 2 artifacts. I'm not done with the labyrinth though. I still have to go and run the other side, which is arguably harder. But for now, I'm gonna head out. I'm not too sure why I brought my Thyla in there, because I didn't even use it at all. That's okay, as I return to base later with all of my new artifacts. I managed to get an Ascendant assault rifle, but I'm not going to use it much because of its terrible recoil. Right now, the only thing I want to focus on is getting the last artifact. Now, to do this side of the cave, I want to tame an Archaeopteryx, because they're essentially like a glider. I don't think you're ever going to catch me taming one of these guys in a video again, because they are just only useful for this one cave. The main issue that I'm going to be having right now is actually finding one, because they are tiny. I was getting trolled because I could hear an Archie over here, but I couldn't see it. After some time, I realized that it was just on the cliff below me. I was blessed with the fact that this one is a level 145. I just need to wait for it to eat the chitin. On day 83, it's almost tamed. Nice. Glider. With the Archie now tamed, I left Willy at base because I don't want anything to happen to him in case I die. A large segment of this cave is actually underwater, so I'm gonna hate this even more. Not to mention, if you miss a jump on one of the parkour sections, you will die immediately. My character was extremely burnt, so I decided to put him out of his misery for a sec. We've now arrived back, and we know exactly what to do. We gotta spell out Drakkar again. Well, we're back in the water, so it's time to go down this hallway and choose which path I want to go down. I made sure to be extremely careful this time by enabling Focal Chili and Proning. You know how this goes. Now that I've made it through, it's time for me to equip the scuba and go down into the trench. It looks to be a sunken city down here with a lot of fish inhabitants. There's some decent loot here as well, but it's not going to top what I already have. I had to go up to this air pocket for a bit so I can check exactly what I need to do in the tutorial. Even the sharks aren't safe from me. Now that I know what to do, I swam through a crack in the wall which led me into another section of these caverns. This is where it got really bad for me. This is another time segment where you have to open specific doors in an order. This one even had a huge snake behind it. Had. With the door behind me shutting, I have to be extremely careful to do this as fast as I can. Yes. I didn't record it, but I just got a new insane pump action shotgun. After some time, I finally made it through this segment. Luckily for me, the only really dangerous creatures here are raptors. Oh my god! Oh, okay. With the Rex locked behind the door, I have to run through this hallway over to another underwater segment. Jumping down, I was horrified to see that there was a Spino here. Oh, what? What? Oh my god. Hey. I'm just gonna like... Okay. I then got another amazing assault rifle that I will not be using. After some button mashing, a new door opened. This is just your standard parkour section, and if I fall, I have to restart this part, but it's not as bad as the other ones. I guess I'm just him because I did it on the first try. I wish I could say the same thing about this next part, though. I'm gonna be locked in here. Oops. Okay, we're gonna take it very slow. We're not skipping any parts. What happened to you? Well, I mean, that did just close on you. Woo. Okay, good, we hit a pillar. Oh. Didn't go as expected, huh? So I just lost everything. And I mean everything. My armor, my guns, my tools, all of my supplies are gone just like that. You know, I hate doing this sometimes, but we're this close to the challenge that if I lose all of that, we're not going to be able to beat it. So... well, I guess we better start taming another Archaeopteryx. Let's move on. I'm not losing everything to something silly like that. Did you see how close I was there? If it happens again, I'm not gonna question it though. This is a one-off thing, I don't cheat my videos. Moving on, I found a new Archaeopteryx, so I can now trank it out with my long neck rifle. Oh, I didn't load the right bullet. That's quite possibly the funniest thing that could have happened. I found another Archie shortly after, and I tranked it out. It's a lower level, sure, but that's okay. Now we gotta finish the labyrinth, for real this time. You already know how this goes. Spell Drakkar, mash buttons, swim underwater, mash more buttons. I had no problems taking out the hostile creatures and getting right back to where I was before. I have to be more cautious this time, ensuring that I don't make any more fatal mistakes. The strategy here is just to spam your reverse button so that you don't fall down. Every so often you can cheese a segment by just jumping through. This saves you a lot of time but is very risky. When I got back to the part where I died at, I made sure to just walk through instead of using the Archie. There were some parts here where my palms got sweaty, my knees weak, and my arms got heavy.
Drop bombs!
I didn't mess up like last time, and the Archaeopteryx heavily carried me. Oh. The last artifact has finally been completed, which means Gerbert has to go. I timed all of my spike jumps perfectly and was able to escape back over into the spirit room. If I want to get out of here once and for all, I have to defeat them again. Speaking of them, where are they? I was only able to find the dire bear. But the wolf is nowhere to be seen. Because Ark is such a well-developed game. I can't say that's... Because Ark is what it is, the dire wolf glitched itself into the mesh. I didn't want to cheat this labyrinth too much, so I waited until I could find it. Back to it. We already know how this goes, with me completely gunning down both of them. Oh my god, no! Oh, this isn't good. See, if it was a pack of wolves, it'd be over. On day 87, it was over, and I could leave the labyrinth once and for all. Yeah. Once I leave these sewers, that's every single artifact on Ragnarok collected. There's still some other tributes that I have left, which should be pretty light. Without my Archaeopteryx, this entire cave would not be possible. So let's do something funny with it while we can. We don't need Peter for this. We're gonna be gliding all the way from this cliff to my base with one Archaeopteryx. This is something I never thought I would do. Is this tough? Turns out this thing is extremely slow, and it was taking me way too long to get back. If we want to get back to base on day 87, we're gonna have to land in that water below us. Hold on, Archie. We'll be back. Just the sand. That went a lot better than I thought it would, actually. Now that we've completed the artifacts, we have to go and do some side quests. Namely, going after some honey so that we can craft sweet veggie cakes for all of these theories. If you don't know what a sweet veggie cake is, you feed it to your herbivorous creature and then it gains back a percentage of its health. Because of that, on day 88, we are going out to the redwoods so that we can collect some. You'd think that at least one of these trees has a beehive on it, right? You're so wrong. None have spawned throughout the duration of this playthrough. It's been almost 90 days and not a single one is here. That's because they're actually completely bugged. I looked through many tutorials on YouTube and asked my friends on Discord, but they've all been having the same problem of them not spawning. So if you were looking for an Alpha Nanatak fight at the end of this video, I just can't do that. If I don't have veggie cakes in that fight plus no good saddles, I will be destroyed within the first 2 minutes. If I go into that Alpha fight right now with everything that I have, I will end up just like the Manticore and Dragon. So far it looks like the Gamma fight is already challenging enough, so it should be pretty decent, I hope. I want to see if I can turn this video around though. If I can get good saddles, I will be doing the Alpha fight, so I head out towards the ice cave again. But I completely forgot that I need to bring my Thyla, so I had to quickly turn around back to base. Don't worry, I brought my fur armor too. Day 89 is here and we are speeding over to the cave. Not only have I not actually gotten the saddles, but I am lacking a Eutyrannus. Speaking of saddles, this drop was pretty helpful. Amazing Thyla saddle that we will immediately be putting on when we get there. As soon as I had arrived, I hit every single drop location that I knew. I only got a nice shotgun blueprint and fur armor, but hopefully the Ice Queen can give me some better loot. The sniper upgrade that I got is really nice, but it's not what I need at all, so I can't really get that Fairy Saddle blueprint. On day 90, I'm still regretting that I couldn't get one. Alongside that, I saw that my lemon plants had died, so I want to go and replant them. I also need wood for the Fairy Saddle, so I might as well be farming the citronal seeds and the saddles. As of right this second, multitasking is my best friend. I was able to get a bunch of wood that can be turned into saddles, which is going to help me out a lot. But we're gonna have to bring it back home if we want to craft it, obviously. Some way, somehow, I was only able to make one saddle when I got back, but I'm pretty sure I'm just missing the fiber. And don't worry, I planted my lemon seeds. Fiber is nothing that I can't get, though. Fairies are not only extremely good at fighting, but they are extremely efficient gatherers. They're so efficient that I got over 25,000 fiber in one session. With all of this new fiber, I can go ahead and finish all of the primitive saddles. Even though they are primitive, they will last me very nicely in the Gamma boss fight, I think. Either way, I finished crafting everything that I'm gonna need. Except for the 4 bison saddles, but I'll get to crafting those in a sec. Day 91 and all of our theories are completely saddled, which means that we are good to go into the boss fight when I get cryopods. Although I will need to tame Eutyrannus right now. I don't care what level it is. I would be fine with taming a level 15 if it just means I can have it in the boss. But to get one, I'm gonna need to get gunpowder for simple bullets so I can turn the bullets into trank darts. Now that the quick charcoal run is over, I can make a bunch of gunpowder. I was able to make just enough gunpowder for me to knock out a Yudi of any level. With my darts acquired, I immediately set out towards the snow. I don't care what level this guy's gonna be, as long as it's a fuzzy T-Rex that can boost my creatures. Hey, would you look at that? I got a sweet veggie cake from a drop. Not like it matters or anything, because it's much too late to use that. I'm really enjoying this flight here, because it might just be my last one across the Ragnarok map before I finish it. Sadly, I didn't get the Yudi on day 91. I'm continuing my search on day 92, and I haven't had much luck yet. I will take a level 90 any day of the week, so let's do this one more time. I guess because of the fact that it's less than level 100, it didn't take many tranks. only stat that matters on this Yudi is its health, so I'm gonna hopefully get it up to 30,000 after I sacrifice a bunch of babies. As of right now, I'm gonna feed it its Carno minions. Because of the fact that I'm missing saddles for these here creatures, I need to go and get some more hide. I feel like I've massacred enough things around here that I would have everything that I need. Just like that, that's every single saddle for the bison crafted. I almost forgot I have to tame the Yudi, so let's go over and feed him. On day 93, my goal is to level Ducky, my Yudi, up. I'm missing 19 hide for the saddle itself, and I don't really want to leave my base because I'm feeling lazy, so... You remember that Microraptor I tamed before? He had the 19 hide on him the whole time. I used that hide to completely craft the Yudi saddle. Now that our army is completely outfitted with saddles, we are actually good to go into the boss fight, ignoring the fact that I still don't have cryopods. As of this second, I'm gathering theory eggs that I can use to make an automatic Yudi leveling site. Once the Yudi was saddled, I can now kill all the babies. Oh wait, silly me, I have PvE mode on. Well, I guess I forgot to turn my creatures off of passive because they killed it before my Yudi could. That's okay, those theories are expendable. Waiting for you. Again, passive. I was able to get 39 levels, most of which went into my health. Now that the Yudi is sufficiently leveled, we just need to heal her, which is going to take a bit. Remember what I said I was going to use for meat runs? Snuggles will have to wait before I take her out to go and get that meat though, because right now I want to craft those cryopods. On day 94, all of the pods were crafted. Now that my cryos were done, I can go back to base and pod up my creatures, starting with the Giga, because we gotta go get some meat. While we're getting the meat, I'm gonna harvest these Bacillo bodies for their oil, since I want to craft an industrial cooker before I go into the boss fight. This would help me get medical brews. Let's be honest, nothing stands a chance against my Giga. Snuggles is forever going to be the GOAT. Because of her, I was able to start healing my Yudi, which was actually the end of day 94. On day 95, we are still healing Ducky, but I'm not gonna stop. We got someone into midday before she was fully ready, but at least we got her. The last order of business is to get this cooker crafted, so I head out to go and get some quick polymer. I speed ran getting as much obsidian as I could before I zoomed back to base. With my final bit of polymer for this video crafting, all I have to do is wait. I placed my new cooker upstairs where I would soon be pumping it full of tinto berries and narcotics. But first, I need to go and get the tinto berries. Once these medical brews are crafted, that's pretty much everything that I have to do. It's time for me to cryopod all of my creatures once and for all. Even if I'm doing the Gamma fight, people have been saying that this is one of the most challenging bosses in all of Ark. Let's hope we get out of that fight in one piece and completely conquer Ragnarok. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you already know what's about to happen. I see no use in going to do filler content for the next 3 days, so I'm going to end it right here, right now. Might as well look over everything we've done though, right? We're lagging. We're lagging bad. Go! Kill her! Yes, this is it. This is it. This is it. There's no more. Don't make her get up again. Don't let her fly away. This is it. Don't let her get up. Let's go. Come on. Come on! We did it! Nanatak is dead. Oh my. Ignore the lag. Wow. The lag is gone. The cause of the lag on Ragnarok has been destroyed. We have defeated Nanatak. On Gamma, mind you, but we did defeat her. It took me way too long. Look at all these eggs that were laid. These guys absolutely carried the fight. It was insane. All I have to say now is thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave me a like and subscribe because it only takes the click of a button. Well, I'm just glad at the end of this entire challenge, we were able to stop the lag once and for all. Thank you so much for watching this video. It means the absolute world to me that you guys are enjoying this content as much as I am. The sheer amount of support that I've received over the last few months is absolutely overwhelming, and I can't thank you enough. I have some insane content coming up over the next few months, so if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe. I always love hearing from you guys, so leave me a comment down below so I know what you guys want to see next and how I can improve. And with that, I will see you guys next time.